friend and partner of the crisis shelter, District Attorney Joshua Lamancusa.
I'd first like to thank congressmen, representatives, mayors, chiefs, and every one of you who came out here tonight in support of this most important public awareness campaign. We've gathered here in solidarity to support and promote an initiative that was designed to increase our community awareness of the horrors of child sexual abuse, to provide the tools necessary for effective prevention, and to support those who are the victims of this most horrific tragedy. This campaign is designed to protect the most innocent members of our community, our children. I began my career as a prosecutor with the United States Navy, and during that time I handled most of the child sex abuse cases on the East Coast. And while I was in the service, I learned that there are only two effective ways to address the tragedy of child sexual abuse, and that is through prevention and punishment. I'm not here today to discuss how to prevent child sexual abuse. There are far too many more experienced men and women here to do just that. I'm here to discuss what my office is dedicated to doing, and that is the punishment of offenders of child sexual abuse. I'm here as the District Attorney of Lawrence County to state for the record that every instance of child sexual abuse will be thoroughly investigated and prosecuted with zeal. No stone will be left unturned, and justice will be had for those victims who cannot defend themselves. For convicted offenders, I'm here to deliver a message. I will not be seeking probation or house arrest or light jail sentences. I will be seeking the only effective means of ensuring that an offender does not reoffend, and that is to lock them away from our children for as long as possible. This is the only way to ensure they cannot harm another child. And I truly hope that this message reaches every corner of our county. And I pray that my words cause all those who would desire to commit this type of crime to pause, knowing that my office will not offer quarter and will not offer mercy. Thank you.
It is my absolute pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Christy, who has the most important story to tell.
My name is Christy. I'm 16 years old and I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. I was very close to my abuser. He's my mother's ex-boyfriend. As a young child, I should have been scared of the boogeyman in the closet or under the bed, but I wasn't. Unfortunately, I had my very own boogeyman 24/7 hours a day. I was 3 years old the first time he touched me. In the years to come, I learned about sexual intercourse and how to give oral sex. We played house multiple times, and in our games, I was the other woman. Playing house was normal for young children, but the warning signs are clear. Children should not play house with parents, in secretive tents, or playing as a couple. Everything that he taught me and did to me was supposed to be called bad stuff, and I wasn't allowed to tell anybody, because if I told, then I didn't love them. I soon began to experiment with other children around my age. Experimenting with other kids is normal, but it's usually joyful, and it wasn't for me. It was not normal. As I got older, I learned about the difference between safe touching and harmful touching. My pain became deeper. I cut myself off from others. I often flirted with boys older than me, and that was what I was being taught. I never wanted to be alone with any male at all. Soon we stopped playing house, and I was getting older and I knew it was wrong. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to him having his hands down my pants. I was terrified. I cried and I begged him to stop. I remember telling my mom everything that was going on. She didn't believe me. I was begged to lie and tell my mom that I had lied to her. And I did. I told my mom that I had said it because I saw it on TV. It's hard to understand why I lied for him, but I was too scared to stick to the truth. I didn't want to be sent away or hated. The abuse continued. February 17, 2005, I was awakened by my attacker. He told me that he had a knife, and if I screamed, he would cut my throat. I was scared to death. He put his fingers inside of me. I tried to scream, but my sobs muffled the sound. Thankfully, I frightened him. He ran out of my room, but he came back only seconds later. He cried to me, and once again begged me to be quiet. He promised me that he would never hurt me again. He said he was sorry, and he wanted to start over and be a real family. But it was a lie. Many months later, he attacked me again while I was sleeping in my brother's room. He stood in the doorway, and he told me that he would buy me a phone if I didn't say anything, and he told me to be quiet. I couldn't take it anymore. I yelled at him and told him to get away, and I screamed for my mom. I told her that he was molesting me for my entire life. This happened for 8 years, every night. My mother told me that it couldn't be true, and I was probably just dreaming. I went through hell for a few years. I moved in with my father, who has always been physically and verbally abusive. Testifying in court was the absolute worst part. His family resented me, and they still do. I'm tired of being called a liar. I know what's true. Believe us when we tell.
Christy is a bright light and a brave young girl. I'd like to introduce Pennsylvania Representative Jaret Gibbons.
Thank you, Dana. I know that story is very heartwarming and it's very touching to hear that, and that we want to make sure that we have laws in place, that the funding's in place, so that we can be certain that all offenders are prosecuted. As a new father, just 6 weeks ago, I look into my daughter's eyes, and I can't imagine how anyone could hurt a child, and can only imagine what I would want to do to the person who would hurt my child. I realize that abuse, whether it be physical abuse, sexual abuse of any child, whether that be coming from a parent, a guardian, a teacher, a coach, a friend, a neighbor, or anyone, boyfriends, girlfriends, are horrible. And we need to make sure that we have the laws in place. We need to make sure we have the funding in place. That's one of the most important things that myself and my colleagues in Harrisburg can put in place. Funding right now, certainly for these programs, is coming under fire. And one thing that I will ask is that all of you, as we move forward again with this year's state budget, is to support us as we push to make sure that we don't see additional funding cuts in the areas of providing for domestic violence protection and for other programs in this area. Sadly, these programs fall in the area umbrella as welfare, which is often demonized, but the fact is it's providing important funding for these programs. So it is my commitment to keep working for funding to do this, for laws to put in place to make sure we protect this, protect us from these things. I will tell you that just recently the House passed legislation for teen dating violence, because another area of abuse that's very large is violence between teenagers in relationships, to put in place education in middle schools and high schools, and to put in place plans to stop teen dating violence. But violence at all levels needs to be protected, needs to be prevented, and it's our commitment to make sure we continue to provide the funding to keep in place so that places like the Lawrence County Crisis Shelter and other programs can continue to make sure that all of our children and all of our people are protected. So I thank you and look forward to continuing and appreciate your support as we continue to fight to keep that funding in place this year. Thank you.